Good evening, Twitch, and welcome to another episode of the D&B Legacy League Beltway Report. Rejoining you now is myself, Jameson Helfrich, uh, and with me once more is Jason Hoffman. Jason, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's so much to go through today. All the stuff has happened. I've just been. I feel like I'm very into this league and I'm very into all this stuff. But even for me, this is like a lot to keep up with. So awesome to have the Beltway report able to cut through some of this.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We do have a lot to cover. There's been a lot of legacy happening in the last couple of weeks. We have BCQ to go over. There's an MTGO showcase that we can go over, and we just had SCGCon DC in our backyard this past weekend, which we will talk about. But so we're going to talk about all those things individually. So first, we're going to talk about the BCQ results at Game Haven from the 23rd. And then after we cover that, we're then going to go into the MTGO showcase, big event, winter qualifies, or I can't remember exactly what all the stakes are, but something involving the mocks and world championships and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's about as honestly, it's about as high stakes as it gets for a legacy event these days without any legacy GPs anymore. Um, so we also related to both events. um, One of our wonderful legacy players, Kate Chelberg, performed exceptionally well in both. A little bit of spoilers here, but Kate split the finals in the Game Haven BCQ and then went on to play in the showcase and top aided there as well. So a really spectacular weekend for Kate. So we're going to get to talk to her and get her thoughts on both of those events as we go through them, and then talk to her about some other topics that we can discuss, Magic related, and then we'll get into the SCG Con one case because we have we had some territory to defend, and we'll talk about whether or not we were successful uh, at doing so. And then we'll wrap up and we'll go over all the upcoming events. So we have some stuff coming up as well. We are in the heart of the league season, and things are starting to heat up. We are kind of bearing down on CubeCon, which is sort of our really quite kind of our mid-season event, right almost smack dab in the middle of it. So very excited for that. Hope y'all are getting hyped for it. So, um, but first, as I mentioned, we're going to discuss the Game Haven BCQ, and joining us now to discuss her spectacular performance is the lady herself, Kate. Kate, how are you?
Hi, I'm great.
So first of all, congratulations on a really powerful. Well, I guess it was last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before that. But congratulations on a really great performance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quite a tear, Kate.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm glad
Yeah.
to have some results finally.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've been working on this deck for a while, right? It's is it prowess with the storm chasers, talents, and things like that. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about your deck?
Yeah, it's like normal Delver-ish stuff, but no Delvers, no Murktides, and instead replacing it with Corey Steel. Not Corey Steel. I mean that is in there, but Storm Chaser's Talon and Boomerang basics, and it was going very well. And then with Flow State, that just like has made it like even better.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we can if we want to look over the list now, or maybe we should pull it up once we get through the BCQ results. But I do have, don't be too modest. I think you do have some innovations on the list here. I'm noting that basic mountain in there that I don't see in a lot of Delver lists. So.
Everyone loves to bring up the basic mountain, but I value the mana stability of being able to like not get wasted out of the game a lot.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and there's a few different ways that I've seen these lists go. I've dabbled a little bit in the Is It space myself. I've been finding a little bit more success in the Demir tempo list, but for this, what I stay awake up at night and can't go to sleep in after is seeing these Storm Chasers talents returning flow states and things like that, where you can just outgrind the Demir side. So,
Yeah.
do you find that your build is a little bit more resilient against some of the other kind of tempo and control decks? It looks like you're maybe possibly, I might be wrong, but it looks like you're possibly giving up like a little bit of the kind of like speed of just dropping a kind of a Delver and holding up counter magic behind it, and you really want to go for more like casting a bunch of spells and triggering your quarter steel cutters multiple times and making your otters 4/4s and things like that to swing in.
Yeah, you get a little bit less protect the queen and a lot more. I don't care what happens to my creatures. There will be more, and my opponent will eventually die to them as long as I keep casting spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
that was always one of the best ways to attack. It has been forever. One of the best ways to attack Delver is to go after the threats, because without a clock, the deck doesn't really function, and the creatures were relatively easy to kill, especially with Swords of Plowshares and things like that. But with this deck, it's like, oh sure, go ahead and kill it. I've got 3 more otters where that one came from.
I've got another steel cutter trigger next turn as well.
Yeah. Please fatal push my token. That's half or less than half of a card that I've spent on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it looks like you've sort of settled into your list. It would seem, at least from the results that you have. I don't see. I could be wrong, but I don't see a single card changed even in your sideboard.
The difference is I cut the 4th days for the 4th flow state for the showcase.
Okay.
But very, very
so
similar.
You're feeling like the online meta and the paper meta, like that sideboard configuration suits you for all the matchups.
Yeah, I feel very confident in almost every matchup except for Eldrazi, which I don't think I can beat if my opponent has a reasonable hand. Which was my one Swiss loss in the showcase, which I think we'll get to. But
yeah, there's been a lot of Tron decks. I know there's sort of almost like I don't know if you'd even call it a resurgence at this point. I think they're just been flying under the radar for a little bit, but they've been picking up. And I noticed that you are lighter than a lot of the tempo decks I see on things like Consigned to Memory. It looks like perhaps you value Price of Progress a little bit more in that, and just maybe closing out the game. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I think if you just give them time, they will always overpower you. So I'm just trying to kill them as soon as possible. And that's how I won my semis at Gamehaven, was a lethal Price of Progress against Tron.
Yeah, really good card against them. And you did mention before, I think that kind of leads into this, where Protect the Queen is not really your strategy. You're kind of more like, I want to be playing spells. I want to be a little bit more proactive, as opposed to just dropping a 3-power flyer and then kind of sitting behind counter magic. So your 1/1 with prowess aren't as good sitting behind Force of Wills, Force of Negations, and Consigned to Memories. You'd rather have something that you're casting on your turn, or that you can kind of just push in some damage and close out the game with a big Price of Progress or something like that. Is that a little bit more of like the build of your deck? Is that why your sideboard might look a little bit different than some of the other tempo decks?
That's exactly right. Just make them stumble with Wasteland, get some damage in, kill them as soon as possible.
Yeah, Pyrokinesis is another one that I don't see a whole lot. Could you talk about that? What do you what's that come in for? Is that against just other creature decks?
Yeah, any of the green decks, or the Red White Cats deck especially, is really good against the Red White Cats deck. And just it being 0 mana and being an instant or sorcery, so it triggers all the prowess, and you can pick it up with Storm Chaser's talent to close out a game, is really nice.
Yeah, really nice. No, I really like this. The more I look at it and the more I'm talking to you, it looks like a really, really sweet list. And so I've seen there's probably 3 different versions of the Izzet deck, where you can actually have Delver, you can have Murktide, you can have it's really a bit more down to the threats, and it's like any number of Quarter Steel Cutter. But with your build, I really like that sideboard there. Have you how have you felt about so did you say you recently went up to 4 flow state, or you went down from 4 to 3?
I went up to 4 flow states.
Okay, so you have liked that, and you found that they've been turned on enough for you with
Yeah.
your boomerang basics and things like that you can use proactively.
You usually have enough other things to do
Mhm.
if it's not online, and when it is online, it's very good. And
Mhm.
it's also not the end of the world to cast one anticipate in a game.
Right. Yeah.
It still triggers all your things
Mhm. And then turns the rest of them on.
and then turns the rest of them on. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
anticipate by itself is not impressive at all, but anticipate that also grows my otter army and triggers my Dragon's Rage channeler, and my Corgi Steel Cutter is much better.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And it kind of feels like AK in a sense, because then all the other ones now draw an extra card.
Right.
Mhm. It also looks like, I know we're kind of waxing on about this a lot, but I like that your build looks very very resilient to graveyard hate. Where if I was to just say, hey, you know, something like a white player might just say, hey, neither one of us have graveyards for the rest of the game. You can play through that a lot easier than someone that's packing 3 Murktides. Obviously, your flow states aren't going to be as good. Storm Chaser talent loses a little bit of text, but you're still able to do a whole lot with all your core steel cutters and those otter tokens with prowess.
Yeah, Dragon's Rage channeler doesn't get turned on to
Mhm.
full 3 power, but
Right.
ultimately, like, the way to think of it is if I'm the opponent playing against Kate's prowess deck, like, would I board in Tormod's Crypt or Leyline of the Voids or something, and like you wouldn't get enough equity against Kate, where you might against like Murktide,
For
something like that.
sure. It's so hard to want to cast a rest in peace into like 2/1/1s with prowess.
Right.
Mhm. Awesome.
Okay, so
Right. Right.
um, so tell us a little bit about the actual day of the BCQ at Game Haven. So it looks like you split the finals with Bobby Westcott, who was on the Esper Stiflenaut, and as anybody who knows Bobby knows, he's been on that deck forever, trying to make Phyrexian Dreadnoughts work in Legacy. And much like Fetch, it hasn't, for the most part, happened for him, but it did that day. Did you have any observations about Bobby's deck from that event?
It's very interesting because it only has 2 Phyrexian Dreadnoughts
Yeah.
and is more of like a throw control kind of deck.
Yeah, he talked to me about this so after he split the finals with you, or I don't know, did you guys play out the finals, or
We did
did you
not
just
end up playing at the
okay?
finals.
Yeah, so he talked to me about it, and he said that basically, like, I mean, Friction Dreadnought is not that great by itself. Having multiple copies is never very good, and with Urza Saga, it's very easy to to find the one that you really kind of need to close a game out. So he's been trending much less in the direction of uh, a an all-in combo style of Friction Dreadnought list, and much more pulling back, playing much more control style. He's got Flow State in there. This is another blue flow state deck that can kind of sit back and play a more controlling game. And it clearly, this formula is working for him.
Yeah. 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 I like that. I think flow state has helped to enable that approach to this deck. Like you said, you don't need a ton of 12/12 tramplers to close out a game when people are fetching and casting thought seizes and things like that. So often one is going to be enough to do the trick. You also have ways to search that out in your Urza Saga, things like that. And it's just you have a lot less draws where you're just stuck with uncastable cards in your hand, so he can spend his mana more proactively and do a lot of things. So did you get to play him at all? It sounds like you didn't. You kind of
I did
dodged
not,
that matchup.
but I have played against Bobby plenty.
Mm-hmm.
I
Nice.
also want to
Yeah.
highlight so one of Bobby's interesting choices in the sideboard is Silent Gravestone as a graveyard hate card, which you don't really see very often. And he specifically highlighted that he really liked the way that card played. And I'm sorry, Bobby, I can't remember exactly what he told me, but it says cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. It's a 1 mana artifact, so you can get it off of Urza Saga. and it was just that specific form worked really well because I believe, well,
It's
there's
really
just like
good. It's really good against welder cam
right. So there you
because
go.
it turns off Emery and it turns off Goblin Welder and Engineer, and it's one mana, and they can't even
Mhm.
like use welder to weld it out like they often can do with graveyard hate
Mhm.
if he has an artifact in his graveyard because they still can't target the artifacts in your graveyard.
Right.
Mhm.
That yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually because yeah, that's welder can always switch your artifacts out.
Which is really good against Dreadnought normally.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, so Silent Gravestone. So that's a pretty good poll.
Yeah. Neat one. Yeah.
So so let's talk about these are the overall results here on the screen here. Lots of top eights and results. Again, you can view these on the DMV Legacy League website. Um, so some strong performances here. We see the from May 17th, Harry Hackett winning with is it Weldercam, and overall, what kind of trends? So a lot less, especially if you look at that the rest of that top eight from May 17th. There's
Mhm.
is it 3 Weldercam decks in that top eight,
Mhm.
and then none that I can see. Yeah, none from Game Haven on the 23rd.
Yep.
So is that just people are figuring out how to beat this deck now? What do you two think? Because you guys are more in the trenches than I am.
I think
I,
people are definitely learning more how to play against it.
mhm.
Stuff like Silent Gravestone, stuff like knowing what like stuff like Null Rod doesn't necessarily actually be that good against them,
Mhm.
and everything else that you need to. It's a new deck. It's weird. You got to learn.
Mhm. I did see that there were still people there that were playing it, so
Yeah.
it is still. I think it's not that people have stopped playing it at all. I think it's just like you said, people are figuring out a little bit how to play against it. Although Harry Hackett missed out on tiebreakers from the top eight, so I mean he's hanging around as we'll see going forward. He's also made a presence at some of the SCG stuff this past weekend, so it's here to stay. I think it's a really strong deck. It can attack from several different angles. You can build it several different ways. Similar to how we're talking about Kate's Is It list. There's multiple different ways that you can build it and kind of attack people with it. So even when you're playing against it and that's the archetype name, you don't really exactly know what 75 cards to expect either.
Yeah. And something else I noticed too is from the showcase we had there were 2 Tron decks I think and a Turbo GAC deck in the top 4. Um,
Mhm.
so there's Tron decks hanging out in online, and I believe are they both playing Candlesticks or is it just
They
one
are
of them
both
playing?
playing Candlesticks.
Yeah. So that I wondered and I wonder what y'all think about this, but I actually kind of think that that deck might be underrepresented in paper because candlesticks are really hard to come across, let alone like afford.
Yes.
Yes.
Because in paper, yeah, it's very funny when you look at this like on MTG Goldfish or somewhere where it like shows you the how much the deck costs. Oh, it's up there at
Mhm.
the top there. Yeah, yeah. So it's like, yeah, mana traders. Okay, card hoarder, 550 ticks for this thing. Card Kingdom,
Mhm.
7,000. It's like that's actually
Yeah.
probably underselling it.
Mhm.
So y'all agree? Do you think this deck is maybe like it's not showing up in paper, but it's still putting up results online? Is that probably a disconnect of availability of candlesticks?
It definitely is. Like I won my semis against Tron. Local player Jay has a set of candles and like has been doing pretty well with the deck in paper, but I don't know how easy it is for a lot of other people to have 4 candles.
Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's not like dual lands where like everyone has dual lands, and so if you need them, you can borrow them off someone. It's just
Right.
it's
right.
such a niche card.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah, if
not
someone
been
has
really
them
like
there.
top end in Legacy for a long time. Um,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
yeah, was it say
Yeah.
$4,000 down there? Yeah, it's like having a place at like Tabernacle. It's like Tabernacle expensive, but like Tabernacle has the benefit of being like only good as like a one of and maybe a two of.
Right. Yeah. Although you're probably liking your meltdown pretty good into candlesticks, huh?
Yes. The meltdown got added back into my deck for that weekend, and
Mm-hmm.
I played against like a lot of like Affinity and the World of Cam and this deck, both in the
Yep.
showcase and at Game Haven, and it
Mm-hmm.
was very, very happy to have it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It can be. It's not. It's one of those things. Like there's not a ton of perfect sideboard cards against the Welder Camp deck, and Meltdown's certainly not one of them. But
Yeah.
in certain board states, it can be really really good if you can take out a couple of their lands and things like that.
It's also very good at dealing with like Pinnacle Emissary tokens, which is otherwise kind of annoying.
Blocking all of your stuff. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So before we move on from Legacy with you for a brief moment, what are your overall thoughts on your deck? Like where you see it might be going in the future? Do you have any other kind of cards you want to try, or do you think you've kind of hit a groove here?
I mean, I moved the sideboard around a bunch. Like, I might play an extra consign, especially on like online, if Tron keeps being as good as it is. I like its matchup into, I think I mentioned before, everything except for Eldrazi aggro, which is just a mix of everything that the deck can't deal with. It's like Cavern of Souls and Chalice of the Void and creatures that don't die to Lightning Bolt, and a lot of the creatures that don't die to Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
But like traditionally good decks into Delver, like 4-color Beans and Death and Taxes, have like I think the matchups have been like completely changed by playing the Talents and also Flow States.
Mm-hmm. How have you liked? I'm looking here at a little bit of like a matchup spread on mtgdecks.net, and I know that historically, when you're the tempo deck, the sort of larger tempo deck, especially one that has like a little bit of life gain, sometimes can be a real problem. How have you felt into the Dimir tempo with the version that you're running?
I've liked it quite a lot. Because Baragwave looks like a lot of a problem, but being able to like bounce it with Boomerang Basics and then like later in the game pick up Boomerang Basics with Talent and then bounce it again usually like gets them killed.
Yeah, that's probably the main problem, really, right? Is the Baragwave.
Yeah, for sure. Like
everything else you can go wide around, right?
Seems and like my creatures die to Bowmasters, but like as I mentioned before, I don't care if any individual creature dies.
Right. Yeah, and you can play around it pretty well. You just kind of force them into chump block situations, right?
Yeah.
I noticed Sneak and Show was surprised. Like I always think of Izzet Tempo and Izzet Cutter as like good into Sneak and Show, but the stats I'm looking at makes it look like that's like a 43% win rate. And obviously not necessarily your exact build, but how have you felt into Sneak and Show and other combo matchups? Because usually that's kind of the bread and butter for the Izzet Tempo decks, isn't it?
I think they're still very, very good. I beat Sneak and Show in the Showcase Swiss. I did lose it to it in the quarters, but with you do have to sideboard knowing that they have hexing squelches, which means like leaving some number of lightning bolts in that you would normally never leave in against Sneak and Show.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to not get
two blue blasts, which are a help as well, right? So
yeah,
that's
blue
probably
blast,
a really good card against them.
Yeah, so 2 of my bolts usually end up being blue blasts, and then I leave 2 bolts in just as extra squelcher answers.
And bolts feel like they're even better in your deck just because you can use it as a second spell, something like that.
Yeah, and being more aggressive means they go upstairs quite often as well. There's a lot of like cantrip plus bolt you trigger all my prowess, trigger my steel cutter, get in for $1 million.
Even if they have a resolved creature with lifelink or something like that you're attacking into, you can't be afraid to bolt your own creature, kill it so they don't get the lifelink and deal lethal and things like that. So it's lots of play to those types of matchups, I would imagine.
Exactly, yeah.
Awesome. Is anything that you feel like gives you, I guess you mentioned Eldrazi. Is there anything else that you're just like trying to really dodge, or you feel like pretty solid in most of the rest of your matchups?
I think pretty much everything else. I'm sure you can
That's great.
build a deck that
Mhm.
also could be this kind of deck, but most of what people play, I feel confident into.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. It feels like the people that were doing Stompy have, at least in some of the local games that I've been playing, have moved into a little bit more of like the bigger Tron.
Yeah.
So you probably are enjoying that shift up where they're getting like a couple turns slower.
Yeah, lots more chances. Also, like Wicked or Wasteland and stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, artifact removal is better against
Yeah.
non-Eldrazi things. Yeah, cool.
All
That's
right.
great. Yeah.
So Kate, tell us a little bit about 7 Point Auslander.
Well, um, I used to be on the committee for 7 Point Highlander, which is a singleton format, but instead of being like 100 cards like Canadian Highlander, it's a normal 60-15 with a different points list. It's very, very popular in Australia, which is where I'm from.
Okay.
um,
No.
uh, it's like very competitive. They have lots of like big events for like dual lands and power. There's like one later this year that has like 2 Lotuses, which is ridiculous.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Um,
It's like that. Okay.
uh, and I think the format creates a lot of very novel gameplay situations, and the deck's fun to play. I play a lot of prowess in that format, which is surprise, surprise, very similar to the Delver deck I play in Legacy. But I've also played stuff like Bizarre, Madness, Aggro, and Dooms. I played Doomsday in that format, and it's interesting getting to play with like Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact with Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. That's yeah. Right. So is there any kind of a community around here now that you're living
Um,
amongst us mortals here?
I'm trying. I always bring events decks to events. A couple people have put together decks, and but I'm always happy to jam with people, and hopefully it can get more of a thing. But I think
Nice.
the niche ish format has been mostly taken up by pre-modern around here.
Hmm.
Well, yeah.
Well, maybe some people will hear you on the Beltway report and reach out to you,
Hey.
borrow some aesthetics,
Hopefully,
play with you.
you can find more information at 7ph.com.au. Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. To check that out. Sounds fun. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, and speaking of niche formats, we have pre-modern, which is my favorite format right now. It's the only format I'm actually playing in events of. I played in a second pre-modern event. Did not do as well as I did last time, but um, so yeah, pre-modern is I will pitch it to. I don't want to take up too much time on the legacy broadcast, but I will pitch it to the legacy players of out there. Of if you are an old legacy old head like me, and you've been playing legacy for a long time, and you fell in love with the format like 10 to 15 years ago, pre-modern captures a lot of that same vibe, where it's a lot of the similar cards, but much worse mana, which makes gameplay like way more fun. Honestly, like it's old school Magic. It's the Magic I remember, but not being like literally the format old school. And a lot of really fun archetypes. The metagame is relatively coalesced, especially online, but in paper, it's extremely diverse. You can play an 8 round event and play 8 different decks. And Kate, I know you have been having success in pre-modern as well with a kick-ass Sly list, which is very similar to mine. I think we're like 70 of 75.
Yeah. It's fun. I wasn't playing Magic back during that time, but I'm enjoying the like incremental nature of a lot of the format, and like any one thing doesn't like immediately lose you the game usually. I mean,
Yeah,
some things do like replenish or a 12-12 sometimes, but
but you got to
uh,
work for it. It's not just like,
yeah,
okay, oops, I Murktide it all over your
Mhm.
face. Like it's
yes.
like,
And getting every point in with my Mog Fanatic feels great.
yep, Mogfat, not as fucking insane as it used to be when you could stack combat damage. That's one thing that's like, like a lot of the creatures that they're still good enough in pre-modern, but like they were insane when you could stack combat damage because like, oh yeah, Mog Fanatic. Oh, you want to block it with an X2? Okay, stack combat damage and fling my Mog Fanatic.
There
Get your
was
X2.
there's been a lot of situations where I'm like, oh, this would be really stupid.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
real dumb.
Yeah.
So yeah, not quite as good anymore, but it's still really good. It's still plenty good enough, especially in pre-modern. It also like there's a lot of X1s that are playable,
Yes.
and you can just it just trades with those, which I actually recently swapped out my Knights of Stromgold and my mono blacklist for Black Knights, just straight up Black Knight, because I want the X2 with the Pro White. I can't. Knight of Stromgold is so bad against the red decks because it just Mog Fanatic or Lava Dart kills it, and I'm just like,
Yes.
no, I can't do this
I've
anymore.
killed a lot of Knight of Strongholds.
So yeah, pre-modern highly recommend. It. I mean, the card I would, you know, about 6 months ago I was recommending it to people because you could build the best deck in the format for a couple $100 at most, and that it's still relatively true, but um, it, you know, it's been the prices have been spiking like crazy, especially with the
Yeah.
reserve list cards, because there's a lot of reserve list cards that are playable. Survival of the Fittest, for example,
Mhm.
Phyrexian Dreadnought is in one of the most played decks online. Um, Mox Diamond is crazy expensive and it's all over the place. So, but most pre-modern events are very friendly to proxies and gold border cards. Gold border is supposed to be like that was the format was created as like part of the reason was like gold border cards. I want to play with these. Um, SCG Con, notably this past weekend, SCG is like the biggest tournament organizer that doesn't allow gold borders. But generally, you will also find that gold border cards are legal and allowed at tournaments. So yeah,
Is
it's
that
a
where you
great
played?
format.
Is that where you played SCG?
No, I have played the last 2 week or monthlies at Game Haven.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna play the SCG Con on Sunday, and then I was up late Saturday hanging out with friends, and woke up late on Sunday morning, and I was like, or woke up early on Sunday morning, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna wake up late, and I went back to bed.
Fair enough.
Um,
But it's cool
but
to see that it's being supported, right? Like I hadn't really
yeah,
heard of it till relatively recently. So to see it at an RCQ type event is pretty neat.
yeah, absolutely, and um, there's also a hashtag which is in the DMV Legacy League. Hashtag has
Hmm.
an FNM, a pre-modern FNM, and
Oh,
there's a few other stores in the league that also support pre-modern. And I think Curio Cavern is. I know the owner. I know Tom like plays it. I know he likes it, loves it a lot. But like I
hmm.
don't know, I don't think they have anything regular set up yet. But they're probably looking into it. So keep an eye out.
Not that I know of.
Give it
Yeah.
a try. It's pretty fun. People lend decks out too. I have 3 decks
Hmm.
built right now. Happy to
Hmm.
lend them out. But speaking of SEG Con, actually, so we're gonna transition over to talk about that. But first, Kate, we're gonna let you go. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations again on your wonderful performance a couple weeks ago. And we look forward to seeing more results from you as the league season progresses.
Thank you. You'll definitely see me around. I'll hopefully do continue to top 8 and do well. I'm at level up every Wednesday, but thanks for having me.
Hell
Keep
yeah,
up the good work. Thanks for joining us.
we'll see you out there. All right, so now let's get around to these SCG Con 1K. So there were 3 Legacy 1Ks at SCG Con DC because, first of all, I'm gonna shout out this community once again. I mean, again, this is the reason why we started this Legacy League, is because this community is so strong and the Legacy community is so so I mean it just I mean so populous, so full of excellent
Yeah.
players, but also just full
Yeah.
of players in general. That every
Hmm.
time Star City comes into this region, there's legacy events. They
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
and like from Richmond up to Baltimore, even up to even up to Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, or King of Prussia, which is where they usually
Hmm.
have it. There's always legacy side events, and they always like are full of players. So we had 3 of them this past weekend at SEG Con DC, and a little bit of a spoiler, but we held shit down. We
Yep.
collectively, as a DMV Legacy
Yep.
League, uh, all 3
Yeah.
of the SCG Con winners were DMV Legacy League regulars.
It's awesome. And I want to say, Jameson, like it's shout out to the DME Legacy League, because it's not just that we're kind of this, genetic freaks where we just are good at legacy in this area. It's like it builds upon itself, right? There's good players in this area. but the league gives a place for those players to play and hone their skills and bring in new players and cultivate this additional competition, where then that just makes better and better the players that were already good. It makes them better, and it's bringing in more new great players. I mean, people are potentially moving down here because down or up, where wherever you're moving from, because of the scene. Like, so I
Yeah.
think it's like it's kind of created this kind of destination haven, like some of the other kind of meccas, like New York, or different places like that, where it's one of the strongest places and one of the best really leagues in the world. I would imagine for
Yeah.
legacy right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and I won't even say right now. I think it's been that way for maybe since the beginning of the format. I mean, this community has been
Hmm.
really strong for a long time,
Hmm.
and yeah, playing in bars when the local game stores weren't supporting it, and now, and I'll tell you also briefly to touch back on pre-modern. A lot of the same folks that were around when Legacy started up are also doing the same kind of thing with pre-modern, so it's kind of got that feel to it too.
Hmm.
But that's the community that we have here. We have a lot of folks who are passionate about this format, and it is the greatest format, and they're really good at playing because they've been playing for a long time, but they've also been helping each other out, like you said, and they're because there's it's sort of it's a bit of a snowball effect because due to the fact that the community is so strong, it's and robust, we're able to have more events because the game stores can afford to put them on and
Hmm.
draw a nice big crowd, and that's affords more opportunities to play Legacy in person. So couple that with now how often people grind on MTGO, and you still see, as we talked about with the showcase results, you still see people from the DMV Legacy League top eighting those showcases and all the Magic Online events too. So just a community I'm extremely proud
Very proud.
to represent. So
Hmm.
so let's talk about our winners. So our three DMV Legacy League winners: Jay Wojciechowski on Friday won the Legacy 1K with four color beans.
Yep.
So he's got this kind of crazy
His old
list.
standby. Yep.
Yeah, so he's been playing this for a while, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's been honing this one. Jay comes from a little bit of a background of being known for tempo decks, so he brings a lot of that sort of like knowledge and style to the way that he plays his beanstalk decks. He's an aggressive player. Obviously he knows when to sit back, but it's not one of those it's not your grandfather's beanstalk deck where you're just looking to draw a bunch of cards and sit back and just counterspell everything. I mean, you can see he's got 14 creatures in
Hmm.
this build, and he's got white now. He's back and forth between having white or just being the green black blue version. But he's told me that the ley line binding is in just such a good spot right now, just such a good answer to really anything triggers your beans.
Yeah.
So this deck has got answers for just about anything. I think the toughest matchups are really it's kind of all in combo decks
Hmm.
against this. But anything that's, I would imagine also, funny enough, like the Kate's version gives him a little bit more trouble than your typical is it deck with the cutter being kind of a problem. Although you do have Leyline Binding to answer it. Um, you know, we're looking when you're playing this deck, you're looking to just have like someone that's playing creatures and removal, different things like that, because you can outgrind any of those types of decks. When people are looking to get their 2 mana 2-for-1s, you're looking to get like drop of beans and then draw 4 cards off of it and just go over the top.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, like the worst matchup is going to be your all-in combo decks. Anything that basically Leyline Binding and Search to Plowshares aren't useful for, like anything that doesn't
Hmm.
really play on the board because you have 8 dead
Yep.
cards in game one and you can only bring in so many out of the sideboard. So,
Hmm.
so that
Yep.
that can trip people up, but generally,
Hmm.
it is very powerful, and especially when you actually get the beans going, it
Yep.
just starts going. Money machine keeps going
Yep.
crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, this used to be like a 4 Murktide deck, 3 to 4 Murktide deck because it triggers beans, but Jay's really like the Quantum Riddler, so
Yeah.
that along with the 4 Tameo, I know he was back and forth on sort of how many Tameo he was including, but I think as it's kind of borne out in Legacy, Tameo is just such a strong card to drop on one, and being the in my opinion, a relatively like aggressive player, I think Jay is gonna like to just to drop a Tameo on turn one and really put the onus on the opponent. It makes a combo player, if you are an all in combo player, they see a turn one Tameo, they know that you have lots of ways to flip that. You can drop a Quantum Riddler,
Hmm.
you can double ponder, you can have a brainstorm, you can drop a beans and do something else. So you can flip it with relative ease. And once you have a flip Tameo, any force of negation or force of will turn is just coming back. It's getting picked back up. He's not going to probably ultimate against you, but it's going to be a clock against a combo deck. So it's a really good way to shore up, I think, some of the problem matchups that a
Hmm.
typical beans deck would have. Anything that's going really wide that his 1-for-1 removal isn't great against. Tameo's plus ability is good against that. The Cat's decks and the Is It Tempo that's going wide with Cutter. So it's a pretty balanced deck, and Jay's a great pilot. So um, yeah, this is something that's very strong.
Yeah. So, uh, so the day after Jay took down that first 1K, then we had Ben Holt, who recently kicked off our DMV Super League
Yeah, they're
on
both in
this
the Super
deck,
League.
mono white
Yep.
Death and Taxes. Um, Ben took down the Saturday 1K with
Hmm.
his Yorian list of Death and Taxes, full
Yep.
it's a full 80 card main deck, Death and
Yeah.
Taxes. Now I noticed so for the most part, I think I'm not sure if this is different from the list he played in the Super League, but there's 3 Dryad Militants in the main deck here, which I thought
Yeah.
was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well. It's what's coming to mind is like flow state for me.
Hmm.
So it's pretty good into that. Kind of doing some minor graveyard hate. It's not a completely shut everything off if you're a graveyard deck, but it can be pretty annoying if you're for example, like a blue black tempo or something, and you have
Hmm.
4 to 6 removal spells, and you really want to use it on their 2/1, probably not. So it's it'd be interesting to see his thoughts, but like this is certainly like he is a master at piloting this list, and with the little tweaks, I would imagine these are in response to what he's seen in the meta.
Yeah. For Clarion Conqueror main deck, I think he may have had that going when he was in the Super League,
Hmm.
but that is definitely also
It's a
standing out
statement.
as that's normally a card you see in the sideboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it's a
But
statement.
we've seen
It's
the
a null
uptick of
rod.
Tron, and we've seen the uptake of those Cam Welder decks, and Clarion Conqueror really puts, a kind of a nail in the tires of those decks, trying to move on. So I like his list a lot. It's really clean. It's a lot of four ofs.
Hmm.
He's got a little bit of kind of a tutorable package here with like the Flicker Wisp, Lion Sash, Lorna of the Third Path, stuff that you don't really want a ton of because they're more situational. But
Hmm.
in this 80 card deck, when you can tutor up these little one ofs, I think it's cool. But he does know what he wants to see, and it looks like he wants to see the Stone Forges, the White Orchid Phantoms, Clarion Conquerors, the Felia. Like he's got a really strong and clean list down. I like what he's doing here.
Yeah. So moving from that event, we that takes us to Sunday, in which Jubes won with lands, of course, on what else?
Yes, yes. Honor Green Lands, and he's got his picture with his signature cash grab. I saw on tweeted out. So that's awesome. I've played him a lot at. He's at the one of the locals
Mhm.
that I go to in Fairfax. Shout out to to them. Sorry, I'm forgetting the name right now.
Paradise?
But yeah, yeah, Paradise Games. He's been on this for a while. I mean, he's a comp player. He can do a lot of different things, but when he's really like on his game, he's playing mono green lands. Like he's really scary to play against. He's
Yeah.
got a really clean list as well. He's got a lot of four ofs. I notice over here looking at his land selection that he's on 2 Ghost Quarter, which is always really scary to me. I think it's really scary to a lot of the Pithing Needle decks, and there's a new land card that Eldrazi are playing, and sometimes the Tron decks where you can turn off Wasteland. You name Wasteland to turn it off. So being able to have those 2 Ghost Quarter is probably a little bit of a meta call. I know he likes to play one. It's possible that he's played 2 for a while, but I think the 2 Ghost Quarter is a really good call into what we're seeing shape out with the meta here. So your lands are not safe if you're playing Jubes. He will be looping those with Light from the Loam, and he'll be getting them into the graveyard with cash grabs
Yeah.
and pulling them back. So this is really really strong list. Again, I think it's another list that is not really great into the really fast all-in combo decks. I mean, you
Hmm.
do have lines against graveyards with your, crop rotation into a Bajuka Bog and things like that.
Yeah.
Caracas can be kind of a nightmare against anything that's trying to get quick attracts out, things like that. But it's without a ton of card selection and things like that, it can be a little tough to pull out some of your one of. So I think
Yeah.
this maybe is giving us an insight into the meta with flow state. I think a lot of folks were jamming these tempo decks and kind of these mid range decks. And so if there's an upswing on that, you want to be a deck that can go over top of it and get some kind of a grind going on. If that's a beanstalk or Light from the Loam type of situation and just go over them. So this might be what we're seeing with our winners here, where they're able to go over top of some of that mid range stuff that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the classic. I mean, so first of all, yeah, like lands always has struggled with any kind of combo decks. There's just not a whole lot that you can have ever been able to do against the sort of all-in combo. So in the past they've tried all kinds of stuff, but Sphere of Resistance has been a card that they've played. I noticed that Juves has 2 Disruptor Flutes in his main deck and then 2 more in the
Yep.
sideboard. So probably like there in the past it might be like 4 Sphere of Resistance in a land sideboard.
Hmm.
And so Jube has moved 2 of the that's what I'm kind of seeing it as is Jube has moved 2 of those into the main deck as a
Hmm.
concession to those kinds of decks
Hmm.
and to try to get some kind of a little bit of an edge earlier in the matchup.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it will be tough. But I think what you noted is very interesting, and I think that's sort of the natural churn of a metagame is it's a sign of a healthy metagame, in my opinion, is
Hmm.
so the tempo decks are definitely probably the most powerful decks out there. Flow state, they got a huge powerful upgrade in flow state, and they've really been kind of people have been playing with that card. It's kind of starting to find its niche, and then but what happens? So those decks naturally prey on those kind of all-in combo decks because they're the
Hmm.
exact kind of worst. Like if you designed a deck to beat like an all-in
Yep.
combo deck, it would look like the tempo decks in Legacy, where
Hmm.
quick clocks and then backed by pressure, we have force of will, but we also have days and we have other kinds of disruption,
Hmm.
and it's just a
Wasteland.
nightmare.
Hmm.
Um, but those tempo decks get preyed on by the decks that these lands decks, death and taxes, and these sort of like fair decks that kind of dominate the board, and then those decks traditionally have a tough time with those all-in combo decks. So then we may start to see a resurgence. Like the next evolution might be, we might see these start to take over for a few weeks, and then we might see the next evolution might be, oh, now we're going to get back to, we're going to start seeing maybe Doomsday or some other
Hmm.
kind of all-in Reanimator, or maybe it's just these, maybe the Tron decks just go all in on being like
Hmm.
turbo as much as possible with
Yeah.
well with candlesticks, although there's only so much that
Yep.
that's going to happen. So,
Yep.
so Yeah,
I
and
have
then
been
of course
seeing that
I do want to
online.
note that the skateboard revolution has occurred. There are no
Yep,
lava spur
we're
boots on these
skating.
lists anymore. We're putting
We
merit
took
blades
our
on
boots.
skateboards and doing kick
Yeah,
flips.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. We took off our cowboy boots and we've got our skateboard shoes on. Yeah, the disruptor flute is a really good call out. I've been really impressed with that card. It's not an easy card to play.
Yeah.
It becomes easier if it's in a little bit of a known meta or you know your opponents. Like,
Hmm.
if there's a ton of DMV locals playing that, Jubes, can give you like 80% of what they're on, that card becomes way stronger.
Yeah.
But it's in game two, it's really good. In game one, it can be a little bit tough. So I think that's why you're seeing some of the split there. But it just has so many applications. I mean, historically, that type of card is like really bad into tempo decks. You don't really want to
Hmm.
be kind of wasting your time with that. But especially against like Demir tempo, it hits both the flip planeswalkers, and you can kind of hold it until you see like which one they're going for. You can proactively name like Kaito if you're in the mid game. Early game, you might just want to shut off their Tameo. So it's
Hmm.
it's got some play. He's played me and like named Wasteland early when he just wants a combo.
Hmm.
So it's a skill testing card, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's very
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, anytime you name a card, right? I mean, like Cabal Therapy comes to mind as well as another one that is very rewarding if you have like deep format knowledge and
Yeah.
just skill, frankly, because
Hmm.
you know what to name, you know what's important in the particular moment when you're casting a spell and when to cast a
Hmm.
spell. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that Disruptor Flute has over something like Pithing Needle, where Pithing Needle you like never wanted that against against Delver.
Right.
Um, although you do have, I mean, you can get it with Saga, and so yeah,
Hmm.
you want it in the Saga toolbox. But like Disruptor Flute can also just be like, I'm gonna Disruptor Flute on Flow State.
Yeah.
Now it costs 5. You're
Hmm.
never casting
Yeah.
that.
You have to know like where the direction of the game and where it's going. So you might name flow state if the board is a little bit stalled out, and what you don't want them to do is refill their hand and then apply some pressure. Early game, you might maybe like name a threat or something like that, and then they can slow them down. So yeah, it's a tough card to play, but it's really good. One of the things I wanted to circle back to real quick was you mentioned sort of like the meta shift. And I have found that online, the meta is shifting a little bit towards how you were describing it, where people are kind of, we're going over the top of some of the tempo decks, and then so everyone was, well, let's go to these really fast all-in combo decks to sort of beat that, and then it's kind of circles back around. I think with local folks, a lot of times that's a little harder to do because you're not, renting cards. You're owning the cards, and so you're kind of playing the decks where you have the cards. So you can't just buy 4 or rent 4 candlesticks immediately and
Right.
jump to that deck and things like that. So it's a little bit the metas are like slightly different, but it is neat to see kind of how things are moving and shaping up in D&D.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's move on and so well, one
Is there
last
any
shout out
other?
to
I
all of
guess.
our
Oh,
DMV
sorry,
Legacy League competitors who took down the
I
SCG
lost a
Con
little bit of
Legacy 1
sound
case
here.
this past weekend. So let's move on to the upcoming events we have going on in the DMV Legacy League. So on June 6th, D-Day, as it were, we have a BCQ coming up at Level Up Games in Glen Burnie. Shout out to Level Up Games, one of our gold tier stores this season. And then a week after that, on June 13th, we have our outside the Beltway event at Owl Central. So, quick reminder of our outside the Beltway. Obviously, Owl Central, very far outside the Beltway. That is what it says on the tin. So these are events that are affiliated with the DMB Legacy League. They are offering points and an invitation, and I think we have 2 invites. No, it's just a Beltway Cup qualifier, right? Um, yeah. And this one is going to be a 2K at All Central. It should be 1 blue envelope, and that is going to be a really cool event. Shout out to Al Central. So that's a store that a lot of people in the DMV are very familiar with because we often make the trek up there for their big legacy events. They have been very dedicated at supporting the legacy community in general, and they're sort of like a midpoint between the DMV and between and New York City. So we have some folks come down from New York, and we even have some folks come over from Ohio. So it's sort of a congregation point. So that will be really cool, really exciting event for us. They reached out to us to see if we could collaborate this season. We were happy to. So I'm glad to work something out. And then the day after that, we have another BCQ at a league store at Paradise Games and Gifts in Fairfax. So that's going to be on the 14th of June. And that is also going to be a one slaughter, so 1K, I believe. And but it scales up to 2K if they cap, and going to be running comp rel like usual. So couple of BCQs coming up in the next couple of weeks, and also the Outside the Beltway event. So a lot, even though we've just had a pretty busy couple of weeks of Legacy, we've got a lot more Legacy coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. And like I mentioned, bearing down on KubeCon DMV, which we'll talk about in a moment. But first, we want to give a big shout out to all of our league stores, in particular our gold stores. So Curio Cavern, Dice City, Game Haven, Level Up, and Paradise Games and Gifts. Y'all are the backbone of the league, and really help support our project here in supporting the community and in giving back. So, and we also have our bronze tier stores. Of course, we love them too. Hashtag Gaming Arena and Labyrinth, you're able to go and play Legacy at those stores, and you'll accrue some DMV Legacy League points. And funny little anecdote from this weekend, like something, again, I'm just so proud of the project that we're doing here. We had numerous instances this weekend of players at the SEG Con 1Ks coming up to the head judge and asking if the event counted towards DMV Legacy League points. Unfortunately, folks, no, we do not have a collaboration with Star City Games yet. Although, Jared, if you're watching, our inbox is open. Maybe next time, maybe for Baltimore, we'll see. Well, they haven't reached out yet, but maybe they'll take notice. So okay, so
Okay,
the last
I can
thing to shout
hear.
out is KubeCon DMV. So we want to shout out that event. It is coming up in early July, July 11th through the 12th, and so not the weekend of Independence Day, the weekend after that. So we have big main KubeCon event, is going to be there. It's going to be both days. We also have our classic event is uh, again, we split it off from the invitational, so we're not doing one big weekend, and we're doing the Legacy Classic at KubeCon DMV this year. So make sure that you sign up for that event as soon as you can. I I think I can't remember. The commissioner was supposed to jack the entry fee up away from the early bird fee, but he forgot to do it this morning. So a few folks, and you might still be able to get the early bird
I
fee.
can just hear you. I can't hear Jameson.
So uh, so
We're having some technical difficulties over here, Jameson. Um,
Yep, no worries. So the other day, so the classic is going to be on Saturday, and then on Sunday there's Popper Genesis, which keeps selling out, and then they keep finding a way to fit more seats into the event. So they might have sold out again. But if you're coming down for Popper, I'm not sure why you're watching this broadcast, um, then you should come down a day earlier. Come play Legacy. Uh, Come join our Discord and see if you can borrow a deck. Then you can hang out and be with the peeps and enjoy another awesome format that is very community forward. Something we're very proud to be collaborating with these organizations, KubeCon and NYC Popper League. Again, very community forward organizations. And the whole weekend will be in support of three wonderful charities: the National Immigration Law Center, World Central Kitchen, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. All of them doing excellent work in the world, and God knows the world needs it right now. So we're very happy to be supporting those efforts and those organizations, and very happy to be collaborating with the organizations that we're working with. And check out our vendor list. So we've got some league stores vending at this event: Dice City Games, Game Haven, Level Up, and Paradise are our league stores that are participating, but we do have more vendors coming. There's going to be a whole lot of vendors there. It's going to be an awesome event. We're going to have a lot of fun at KubeCon, and I'm very excited for it. We're going to have a prize wall with all kinds of fun stuff on it. I'm not sure how much of the prizes that we can announce yet, but keep an eye on our socials, and you'll see that as we make those announcements. You'll see all the really awesome and exciting prizes that we have. If you paid attention to the weekend last year, you're familiar with the raffle that we had going on. So you're familiar with the kind of stuff that we can source for our prize wall. And I think we're going to have even more exciting stuff for the KubeCon prize wall. So we have WANSI sponsorship now, so we're able to get some WANSI sponsorship. So you'll see some stuff coming out of that. And we're very excited about that. There's also going to be a lot of really cool side events. Like I mentioned, we were talking about pre-modern earlier. We're going to have a pre-modern side event. All kinds of really fun stuff to come down. Yeah, we got all this, all the information here that I'm going over is available on our website, on the DMV Legacy League website. You've got all this stuff that you're seeing on your screen right now. You can go review this for yourself. You can go sign up for it in Melee. These events are available to sign up. There's Pauper Trios, Legacy Ticket Palooza, Jumbo Pauper, External Trios, Pauper Two-Headed Giant, all kind of stuff. So check it out. Go see what you might want to sign up for. Go check it out. Yeah, we do have giant cards. Okay, so that is announced in the event details. And yeah, there's going to be so much awesome stuff going on that weekend, and it's really going to be a fun time. Yeah, and as noted at the bottom of the page there, on-demand side events all weekend. So there's also that. So if you scrub out a legacy event, you can get in an on-demand queue for another one. But not that any of you will, because you're DMV Legacy League players. You're gonna kick ass. All right, so just one more time, shout out to the gold stores. So Curio, Dice City, Game Haven, Level Up, and Paradise. Y'all are the best. We love you. Love you, hashtag. Love you, Labyrinth. Love you guys too. Gold stores have been hosting our BCQs this season, and they've been kicking ass. And we're very excited to have a couple more coming up at Level Up in Paradise. So they're next on the docket. We just had the one at Game Haven we talked about today. So yeah, we'll see you all out there slinging some cardboard, and hope to have a real fun time in the next couple of weeks these BCQs. And we'll see you there.